Hey, I'm Mark Edward Lewis, and welcome to Cinema Sound Studio B. You know, we worked on Blade of Honor for a lot of months, and one of the things that was challenging for us was recreating the rooms in which all the actors were in post. And we did that using all kinds of reverbs and, impulse responses that we got from set. But generally, we still had to kind of earball it. And one of the plugin sets that we use is from our good friends at Waves Audio. We use a multiplicity of their reverbs to recreate those rooms for both ADR mixing and matching, and then just sound effects and even just general, room awesomeness. So let me show you some of the things that we did, and hopefully it'll inspire you to do your own. Let's roll. Let's take a look at the mix of Blade of Honor, which has an awful lot of dialogue tracks from scenes and different effects that we had to use and all kinds of things like this. So we're in Pro Tools, which may be a little unusual for those of you who've never used it, but it's pretty much the same thing. All the plugins up here, all the sends here, input, output, automation, panning, inputs, solo, mute, record, faders, and the name of the files, name of the tracks. And we can just scroll down here and you can see there's an awful lot of dialogue. These are just the dialogue tracks. Let me go back here. And then over here we have the dialogue buses and the dialogue via VCA. So we have that soloed, so we're just hearing the dialogue now.
Vector, keep an eye on them, please.
Babysit the siblings.
You tell them to stand down before they ruin this entire operation.
Admiral.
And here at the end, on the far right, I like to put all the reverbs that we need to use to recreate the rooms in which they were in, or to create effects. Now, in this case, there's very little ADR in this movie at all. In fact, there's like 2 lines. So the rest of this is just making the creation of the room that we did in visual effects, because otherwise they're just basically on a dead soundstage with a blue screen, no big deal, or green screen, as the case may be. So we needed to add reverb to create the place that they were in. But I like to, one of the things I learned from working with some really great mixers is I like to add a mono reverb, a very short room, very low in the mix, mono reverb. And it kind of covers over some of the edits that happen and some of the chunkiness that happens in the process of cleaning dialogue and perhaps even cutting back and forth between production sound and ADR. And I'll show you what that looks like. And we're going to be using the plugins from our friends at Waves. I run almost all the dialogue to a mono dialogue bus. You can see this is mono. It's only got 1 channel. And here I've got the H reverb up. And take a look at this dialogue here.
Vector, keep an eye on them, please.
Babysit the siblings.
You tell them to stand down before they ruin this entire operation.
Admiral.
And it's a very, very short reverb, like, 1/5 of a second, all reverb, no early reflections or anything like this. A very simple room sound. Now in here, I've got them in another reverb. So let's turn that off.
Vector,
so we don't fool ourselves.
Them, please.
Babysit the siblings.
You tell them to stand down before they ruin this entire operation.
Admiral, Haas is the most experienced pilot we have.
We'll talk about that in just a second. So let's turn up this mono reverb and so you can kind of hear it better.
Vector, keep an eye on them, please.
Babysit the siblings.
You tell them to stand down before they ruin this entire operation.
Admiral, Haas is the most experienced pilot we have. If he's doing this, it isn't just to support his sister.
They're saying we should.
So you can see it's really, really short, kind of, punchy, nice, quick delays. I don't have a really good adjective to tell you what it sounds like, but you heard it.
Vector, keep an eye on them, please.
Babysit the siblings.
You tell them to stand down before they ruin this entire operation.
Now, obviously, that's way too loud, so we'll bring it back to where it was.
Vector, keep an eye on them, please.
Babysit the siblings.
You tell them to stand down before they ruin this entire operation.
And you can really hear the difference because on her voice in the cockpit there, that's spot check, you can hear it sort of cuts off. Now let me mute this altogether and listen to it with just the straight, dry, clean dialogue.
Vector, keep an eye on them, please.
Babysit the siblings.
You tell them to stand down before they ruin this entire operation.
It gets really kind of cut and dry, really clinical, if you will. So we never want that. We always want it to feel alive, so I'm going to turn this back on. But that gives you an example of what we do with straight mono reverbs, which, mono, who wants to use mono reverbs? Well, we do in this case. Okay, that's back there. Let's take a listen to what's happening in this bridge. They're on the bridge, and we added this ambience using the true verb. I have said before that sometimes it's, in order to conserve resources, it's helpful to have two stereo reverbs, one in the front and one in the surround, rather than one big 5-1 or 5-0 reverb going on. And what you do is you take a reverb setting that you like on the front speakers, and then slightly alter it, maybe a different pre-delay, maybe a slightly different reverb size of the room, to make the surround sound different, so it's not just, the same exact thing. So take a listen to what this looks like. We're going to slide forward here.
Down before they ruin this entire operation.
Admiral, Haas is the most experienced pilot we have. If he's doing...
Now you can really hear that they're in a room there, and I'll turn these back up. Turn these up so you can hear them 12 dB loud.
Down before they ruin this entire operation.
Admiral, Haas is the most experienced pilot we have. If he's doing this, it isn't just...
And you can hear the background loop groups that are happening there that we put exclusively into the reverb, so they actually come up. They actually have no direct signal, so they're deep in the room on some speaker somewhere. But it adds, just really simple room. Otherwise, that room that they recorded in is super dead. I'll turn this off, and we were listening to it earlier.
Down before they ruin this entire operation.
Admiral, Haas is the most experienced pilot we have.
And on.
If he's doing this, it isn't just to support his sister.
They're saying we should...
And the louder they get as actors, the more it kind of rings into the room. And that's one of the nice things about TrueVerb as an algorithmic reverb. Let's find another space here that we can go to, and I'll show you some other cool things that we did. They're back. Okay, so they're here in the room. Let's see, let's find another room that they're in. Oh, here we go. Here's a corridor. Let's go back and see where they're at.
Jensen?
We tried that. See where it got us? I'm the only good-looking male pilot in the fleet.
You're the only...
So this is a different room, a different ambience, and we're using a different reverb. This is the r-verb, or the Renaissance verb. Sort of looks like the true verb, but has a different kind of algorithmic feel. I'll turn this up so you can hear it.
Jensen?
We tried that. See where it got us? I'm the only good-looking male pilot in the fleet.
You're the only male pilot in the fleet.
It's a little bit longer. It's got a different sound to it, a little more metallic, kind of what algorithmic reverbs do really well, is add that sort of metallic feeling, which is cool. It's a pretty small size. It's not doing a whole lot, but it's definitely there.
Jensen?
We tried that. See where it got us? I'm the only good-looking male pilot in the fleet.
You're the only...
Just enough kind of reflection off of those metal walls there in the picture to get that feeling that they're in a different space, not in a larger space like on the bridge. They're in a confined space. And that delay that's going on from the loop group in the background, that's just a straight delay and some distortion.
But I would accelerate our plans in any case.
With pleasure. It's always an honor to serve you and Duridia.
Now you can really hear that reverb. That's pretty obvious. And I'm doing the same thing, two stereo reverbs using the Manny reverb, which is really not supposed to be used for dialogue. It's really more of a music reverb, but it has a really nice sound to it.
But I would accelerate our plans in any case.
And you can tell this is the front reverb because the pre-delay is shorter than it is here on the surround reverb.
But I would accelerate our plans in any case.
With pleasure.
And with it off.
It's always an honor to serve you and Duridia.
And none have served me more than you, Rei-Jin. But if you do not succeed in this task, none will have failed me.
Right? Kind of a nice stone, warm room, and it just kind of happened to work for that particular scene. Let's see what other trouble we can get into. Oh, let's look at the birthing chamber, that's for sure. That's a great, where we actually did use a surround reverb, because the 360 surround reverb that Waves has is really juicy and kind of comes out of the box sounding great. So they're supposed to be in this really metallic, highly reflective room.
Hubby, open the next available birthing pod.
Pretty long reverb, pretty metallic, pretty shiny, sheeny. So let's take a look at that. We're using the 360 verb here. And like I said, you kind of put this up and it kind of sounds great, especially in 5.1. But we never want reverb to come out of the center channel. At least I don't, unless I want something really specific, and never coming out of the LFE. Almost never. So if we look here, I've got the LFE off on both of these and the center off. So when it works...
Hubby, open the next available birthing pod.
And you can see that there's almost nothing coming out of the LFE or centers way down. But it sounds great. And you've got all these really, cool effects. Now let's turn the reverb time up just for kicks.
Hubby, open the next available birthing pod.
And obviously that doesn't sound real because there's no room that has that much reverb without pre-delay. But if we added a lot more pre-delay,
Hubby, open the next available birthing pod.
it's still pretty ridiculous. But you get the idea that this has a really nice smooth, you don't hear any artifacts or anything like that. And for longer reverbs, this 360 plugin is really great. And obviously the h-verb, long, not the regular reverb, which is fine, but for long, anything over 4.26 or whatever it is seconds, beautiful sounding reverb. Now it's going to kill your resources, I'll tell you that much, but that's what you get with really deep reverbs, and you get a really great sound as a result. So use these reverbs as much as possible, and don't be afraid to say, you know what, this reverb isn't quite giving me what I want. I'm going to use a different reverb in a different scene. And Waves has a whole bunch of awesome reverbs that you can use, even just in the gold package, which we offer a discount on the cinema for MZ members on Cinema Sound. So hopefully this helps you and inspires you. So there's a lot that's possible with that Waves audio plugin. Now your digital audio workstation likely has a whole bunch of reverbs plugged in and built in, and those are perfectly fine to use as long as they sound good. And we have articles on Cinema Sound for you to determine, is this a good reverb to use or not? But Waves Audio has an incredible deal for Cinema Sound members who are members of the MZ Pro community, a massive discount on their gold bundle, which is where a lot of these reverbs show up. Make sure you avail yourself of that before it goes away. Until then, we'll see you in post.
Even if for yourself.